We've reviewed we
Sorry.
have reviewed some teen overdose cases, and we kind of got back into the underlying underlying causes and conditions and gateway drugs, and the fact that we talk a lot to high school students about drug and alcohol issues, but it's been harder to get down to the middle school and elementary school level where all the sort of gateway activity starts. And they have such a vaping problem in the elementary and middle schools that they are literally almost doing daily across their school system elevated heart rate, tachycardia type of health interventions on kids that are doing exactly what Sergeant Martinez was talking about. They're basically, you know, rapidly hitting the vape multiple times between classes, and then they have no nicotine tolerance, and then they're going tachycardic in class, and some of them get lightheaded and pass out or get sick or whatever, and next thing you know, they're in the nurse's office, and they almost always turns out to be that nicotine was the culprit from vapes. So, and it's in the elementary schools, it's not just the middle school. So
Yeah.
I have a question in regards to that. What is the Trenton school system doing in order to defeat vaping problem? Do you guys might know, or?
So we have been going down and addressing classes, just prevention. So we start with nicotine, and we kind of evolve into vaping oil, or we start with nicotine, then kind of go into marijuana, and then go into marijuana oils and edibles, because there's been an uptick in edibles too, especially in the middle schools. So we're kind of doing both of those, where we're offering classes about the health risks. One thing, especially with kids, that I emphasize is how much money is involved in a nicotine addiction. Sometimes that gets their attention a little bit better. Also, just talking about how we absolutely start those with brain development, because that's where you have to start some of these things, talking about how vulnerable and malleable their brains are right now. And so what they put into their body is what they put into their brains, can have a bigger impact on their future. And we have a couple hotlines and stuff for nicotine addiction. Unfortunately, cannabis substance use disorder isn't as, it's really hard to find treatments for those. But we do talk about kind of the evolution of how those can impact the brain. But those are some of the things we're doing. We know that NJ4S through Catholic Charities has been also teaching some things. I'm not sure if they're doing substance specific or if they're doing mental health and behavioral health, but we have been involved. One thing that we're also trying to do is get the Municipal Alliance a little bit more prepared to we're trying to get the Municipal Alliance prepared to intervene as well. We do have a couple of curricula that we've posed to them, but right now we need some funding to make sure that we have the resources to go there. So those are some of the things that have happened. I don't know if you have educational programs that would fit for middle schools and elementary schools, but that might be an opportunity for y'all as well.
Okay.
Okay, so as you see, I have already started to record our meeting because we were having some really good discussions and I didn't want to miss anything. Our numbers are small today, as we kind of knew they would be. It is an interesting time because, as many of you who live in New Jersey are aware, it was election day yesterday, and then it's teachers convention on Thursday and Friday. So a lot of families, go out of town, go out of state. And so this week is kind of up and down when it comes to attendance. I myself am out most of the week, so I understand these things. I do have a PowerPoint started just to kind of formalize what's going on. So if you're wondering where you are, you're at the Prevention Coalition of Mercer County at our monthly meeting on November 8th, 2023. I am Melissa Arnold. I am the coalition coordinator. I've been here at Mercer Council on Alcoholism and Drug Addiction for 7 years, or nearly 7 years. And I've been the coalition coordinator for 2.5 years. It is a wonderful organization that represents several sectors of the community. And we usually have membership, we usually have attendance in the like 25 to 35. As I said, today's a little bit of an anomaly. And we are very, very grateful to have several members of the National Guard Counter Drug Task Force here. And I'd like you to have an opportunity to introduce yourselves. So if we'll start with Sergeant Marshall. Yeah.
Oh, I'm
Or-
sorry.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
All right. Good morning. I'm Specialist Valdivieso. I work with the Counter Drug Task Force, and I'm a civil operator.
Hello. Good morning. I am Staff Sergeant Martinez. I am also with the Counter Drug Task Force, and I am also the public affairs lead for our section. I'll pass it off to Sergeant Maldonado.
Good morning. I'm Staff Sergeant Cindy Maldonado. I'm also with the Counter Drug Task Force, civil operator. Just started, so happy to meet you all.
We're glad you're here.
Good morning. My name is Sergeant Sarah Montero. I'm also with the Civil Operator Counter Drug Team, and I'm also happy to work with you guys too in Mercer County.
Great. Dave?
Sure. Hey, everyone. I'm Dave DeCamp. I've been with Mercer Council for coming up on 5 years, various capacities, primarily involved in the opioid overdose recovery program, which is a New Jersey DMOS grant that we've been executing out of Mercer Council since 2017. I joined as a per diem specialist responding to opioid overdose and opioid challenge calls in 2019, and was the assistant navigator from late 2019 to 2021, and have been running the programs as the primary navigator since 2021. I'm also the director of all of our recovery focused programs, present and future, that we are actively seeking out new grants and new opportunities for. So that's where I'm at.
He also serves as president of the OFRT.
I'm actually the overdose fatality review team is in its 4th year this year. It is contracted to the Trenton Health Team as the primary contractee, and in a kind of twist in the grant this year, they were asked to, appoint a non-grantee employee as the overall chair of the effort. So yes, I'm assisting them even more heavily this year in year 4 as the chair, and I'm involved in both their case reviews, which are the body meetings where we review the decedents and all the causes and conditions and holes and cracks that people have slipped through to try to improve our overall response to the opioid epidemic. The recommendations committee that takes those findings and makes them actionable. And this year there will be a harm reduction focused committee as well, because that is becoming increasingly obvious as something that we need. Not everyone can make the jump from fentanyl addiction straight into abstinence-based recovery. It's virtually impossible to do. And so we're looking at harm reduction measures for people that can't stop immediately, and just want to reduce their risks. So
yeah, it's a great organization. I've been a part of it for probably about 8 months now, and just seeing what they do and just putting one thing that we talk about a lot in addiction is putting a human face on it. It's not just numbers and statistics. These are people. These are people who are, daughters and sons and brothers and sisters and people who had lives before the way that their lives ended. They should not be defined by these points in their lives. They should be defined as a whole person and what their journey was. And it's fascinating to see what small interventions might have made a huge difference. So I appreciate your work on that, and all the work that Trenton Health Team does. They did receive one of our prevention awards this year, so it was nice to celebrate with them. I also see Al Grupper's on here. Al, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Al Grouper. I am a longtime member of the Pcmc, and I am on the East Windsor Municipal Alliance. More interested in prevention, especially with our high school age and youth.
Well, thank you so much for the work you do, Al. Also a former prevention award winner, so we appreciate all the work that you do. So, oops. Okay, so without further ado, I did invite the New Jersey National Guard Counter Drug Task Force here. We've worked with them previously. They've been part of our coalition on and off for quite a while, I think 4 or 5 years now. And then Sergeant Martinez has been with us for about 2 years. There's some new faces that we just were introduced to. So we wanted to have them come and speak about what they do and some of the presence that they have. Specialist, did you have anything that you wanted to share? I can
Yes, I do have a PowerPoint. Am I able to share my screen?
let me. I believe you can.
It said host disabled participants screen sharing.
Okay, so
Melissa, you can just go to the participants list and make her a co-host, which is actually easier.
Okay.
That way she should be able to share immediately.
Thank you for that tip there. Because sometimes it's lots of fun. All right, there you go. You are officially a co-host and the floor is yours.
All right, good morning, guys. I'm Specialist Valdivieso, and I work with the Counter Drug Task Force. A little background about myself. Before the Counter Drug, I was actually an Army National Guard recruiter. I used to recruit in Elizabeth and in Newark, so I kind of know a little bit about the bad things that kids do in schools. I've dealt with it all, especially in Newark, with all the crime rates and all of that stuff going on. I'm hoping we can develop a really good relationship since I do live in Mercer County myself. I know I'm really close by. So with anything that you guys need, I'll be here at your services. A little bit about what we specifically do as a counter drug. As a civil operator, we provide a gap between the community leaders, and we try to stop duplications of efforts, of repetitive efforts, and eliminate silos of information. We also provide training, and we support leadership, organizational analysis. We also plan and do decision making. Sorry, give me 1 second. The screen is getting ahead of itself. And we also integrate collaborations between communities. And we develop, implement, evaluate, and prevent strategies for the government agencies and community organizations. We have 3 sectors throughout the state of New Jersey. We do work throughout the whole entire state of New Jersey, but we focus on North, Central, and South. We break it down into 3 sectors. We have personnel working in North Jersey, we have personnel working in Central Jersey, and we have personnel working in South Jersey. Central Jersey, we have a really good partnership with the Prevention Coalition of Monmouth. We work with them a lot. We also, as you can see, we also do a Prevention Coalition of Mercer. We hope to have that same connection that we have with Monmouth with Mercer. So, yep. What we can do for you guys, we are limited on what we can and cannot do, just because we do work with the prosecutor office and different people. We get different information that we cannot disclose, but we can do research for you guys, data research. So for example, last week we went to Jackson Middle School and we spoke to the kids over there and they discussed any problems that they had going on in their schools. Vape situation was also a big issue in Jackson Middle School. Anything that the kids disclose, we write it down, make a quick note, write it up, send a report to the coordinator, and we present that statistics to them, and we provide a tactical solution that they can possibly do. We advise, we don't really tell people what to do. We're not allowed to tell people what to do. We just advise. So it's totally up to you guys if you want to take that. We have two sources. We have open source and closed source. Open source is anything that we find on the internet. We can disclose it to you guys, or anything. Like I said, the middle schoolers, they openly told us the issue. We can also disclose that to you guys. Any closed source, like prosecutor office, hospital information that we get, we cannot disclose to you guys, but we can say, hey, on this street, there's been a lot of overdoses usage going on, or hey, there happens to be this bus stop in front of this shop where they sell vapes and kids happen to get their vapes from there. We cannot go there, but maybe you guys can do something about it. That's also one thing we do. If I'm going too fast, please let me know. I'll slow it down. If you guys also have any questions, let me know as well, and I will be more than glad to answer. We also do planning. For you guys, we use the strategic planning framework. We go through all that, and since we are all in the military with the counter drug, we do use tactical decision making. So any of our decisions and advice that we come up with and advise you guys, it's unbiased. So we work together in regards to that. And then we also do assessments. So communities sometimes may need assessments, and they seek information. They seek information, and we go out and assess and write that information for whatever information they're seeking. So we do assess. So research, planning, and assessment. We're here for any of those three things. We also do an environmental scan. Like I said before, when we worked with middle schoolers and high schoolers, we sat down with them. We let them know, hey, no names. We're not here to get anybody in trouble. We're just here to collect statistics and whatever you guys might think that would be a good benefit for your school. We're here to help make that change. We also do mapping as well. 1 second. If you look on the right, it's a map of a high school. Sergeant Martinez, I actually forgot the name of the high school. Do you remember the high school that Sergeant Williams was mapping with?
Yeah, so I think
was
this was a high school in Barnegat,
Barney.
in Ocean County, and a lot of what they did for this map was to kind of highlight the access and barriers that they had at the school, and this information was provided by the students. And if you see in the map, it shows the red areas. Those areas were pretty much areas that they knew about, that students or even just members of the community had access to, and it was away from eyes, it was away from main roads, that they can go and they can use substances in any way, shape, or form. So using that information provided by the students, we were able to create this map highlighting those areas where they were away from cameras, they were away from the main roads, away from people, and it was a way for them to just get away from the major school grounds. And the blips that you see there are some of the things that they put in place afterwards. So you have your main fields highlighted in green, and then there were some areas, it's a little far out from the map, but there were some areas that were highlighted in yellow that they were able to go in and develop something to mitigate those situations. So a lot of the bathrooms in the school that weren't being used, they were getting access to. So now they don't have access to those bathrooms to utilize, and they put a roaming security guard within that hallway. Same thing on the school grounds. They would have frequent checks on those areas that had high activity. And that's just some of the things that you can see here on the map.
So we would go to those schools, we would talk to the kids would point us where there's the red areas that we need to work on. We write up a report, the assessment report. Um, we write up, okay, the baseball field, there has been drug usage, but how can we prevent that? Putting a lock. Got it. We put a lock, go back to the map, see if there's anything changed. If kids have stopped vaping in that area, we turn that red area into green, and see what is working and what is not, and what other strategic plans we could come up with to turn that red areas into green. Any question in regards to the assessment report?
I actually do have a question. This,
Yeah.
this work with the schools, I'm curious how it is funded. I mean, is there any cost for the schools to, pay upfront to do an assessment, or is this really a community service that's covered out of your existing operational military budget?
Nope. So this is basically what the counter drug does. This is not out of anybody's pocket. This is what we do for work. We just need
Awesome.
we just need a email saying, hey, we're gonna go to this school. Would you guys be able to do an assessment report real quick? And I know some kids, they get scared when they see people typing when they're talking. So we normally just either keep a mental note or a side note, or we write it real quick on our phones to not scare them away. But it's basically what we do. There's no money into it. We also do mapping. Mapping is kind of a little bit iffy. We have a personnel that does mapping, and they actually the information that goes on the mapping is closed source, just because it does have overdose fatalities, and all high crime rates and drug areas and all that. But if the coordinator or anybody needs our usage in mapping to map what they have, we can do that. So, and Sergeant Martinez, correct me if I am mistaken, if the coordinator presents us like a statistic rate of something going on this street, or a high crime rate going on, let's say in Trenton area during these times or areas, we go on the mapping and map it up for them. Am I correct, Sergeant Martinez?
Yeah, so the biggest thing with the mapping, we utilize a system called ArcGIS, and with that system, we're able to plug in the data that is provided by the coalitions. So I know it's a big thing with law enforcement, especially. We've encountered that they're a little hesitant to share that information with us because a lot of the information provided has personal identifiable information. So when we go in looking at this data, we remove all of that personal data. So we don't utilize any of the names, any of the hard location, like if the location is owned by somebody, or if there's a certain LLC attached to it, we don't utilize any of that information. All we do is look into the map and highlight the area that it happened in. And we're able to go in and verify that the location was either a house or a commercial lot. And we point those graphs on the map, we color code everything, and we're able to provide that to the coordinators so that they can develop a strategy afterwards. So like, especially as Val said, a lot of it is closed source and we can't share it publicly, but as far as the map goes, like the data we can't share publicly at all, and that's fine. But the map itself, once it's been plotted and color coordinated and everything, and we give it to the coordinator, it's up to the coordinator at that point to utilize it how they see fit, to develop those access and barriers and to develop a strategy to combat those issues that are within their communities.
So do you guys also collect, there's so many mapping initiatives going on, locally, regionally, and, across the state and even nationally. Like, yeah, I happen to attend fairly regularly the Homeland Security Information Network and Drug Monitoring Initiative in the state of New Jersey, which is a function of the New Jersey State Police. They have their overdose data. They have their high arrests for possession areas, their high usage areas. They feed that in. Trenton Health Team has helped locally with coming up with geospatial representations of that. The police in Trenton were doing their own mapping initiative for overdoses because their systems are sometimes decoupled from the other ones. So how do you guys fit in terms of playing with these other sources, right? The official overdose database is maintained at a state level at this in the state of New Jersey. Do you guys track that separately? Do you take a feed from that? How does that all work?
So normally what we would do is we would coordinate it with the state police or the local law enforcement that have that data that we would need. Again, like of course having personal information in there is a little hesitant a lot of times, but
Yep.
coordinating that with obviously the coalition coordinators, the county's prosecutor's office, and if there is no local police department and it's just a state police entity within that county, we would coordinate that with them as well. And the good thing about it is that we have our own like mapping initiative within our program that we don't have to tack on what they're already dealing with on their busy schedule to ask for a map on their end. So what we would do is just ask for that information and we can map it, taking it out of their hands essentially.
Okay.
And I know a lot of times, like you said, there's a lot of mapping initiatives out there and there's a lot of, closed source programs out there that would charge extra just to create a map as simple as that, right? But like Specialist Bob mentioned before, like everything we do within our program is essentially a community service for you guys. And our main role in everything that we do is to eliminate that cost for you guys. So if you guys are saving money and not having to pay somebody else to do that community assessment or to do that coalition evaluation at the end of the year, you can utilize our team to help mitigate that and use those funds to go into whatever initiative you want planned in the future.
Perfect. Free is good. And, especially in the nonprofit world, right, Melissa?
Yeah, absolutely. I do have a question. I did notice, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Yanka Maya is here from our County Interagency Children's Cooperative. Council, Children's Cooperative. Anyway, it is a state and county entity. It is not obviously a nonprofit. It's a governmental. Could they utilize your resources here? Like, what are your limits on, or what is your guidance on who can use your information and who can request reports?
It would be the coordinator. So Mercer County coordinator, Melissa, she would put the request in for us, and then we would send it back to her if we can or cannot do the mapping.
Yeah, once the information is provided to you, Melissa, then of course it's in your hands. However you see fit to utilize that, that's all you. But if there's any other initiative that Mercer County would want to see play out map wise, things like that, then by all means, you're more than welcome to that information as long as it's not sharing personal information. That's the biggest thing that goes into it. But yeah, we can map whatever it is that needs to be mapped and share that information from there.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. So just like Sergeant Martinez said, your data that you guys input to us, we put them together in the map and then we send them back out to the coordinator, and it's up to the coordinator to decide who she wants to distribute it to who she sees fit to have the map. We also do overdosing maps. This is the closed source where we mentioned that we can't really disclose a lot, but we get overdose from all over the state, any county, any city, and if we see a high rate of overdosage, we approach the coordinators of whatever corresponding counties. We're like, hey, we noticed that you guys actually have a high rate of overdose usage in this area. Do you guys have anything working with it? What are you guys doing in that sense of combating overdose drugs. We also get support from the police department. They send us a population list of every counties, every towns. We see the high risking areas on the map. We input everything. We have a little map where we input absolutely everything, all the data where everybody gives us. We assess it. We realize, okay, this area is high rate. We're gonna report that to the community and see the feedbacks that is happening with them. We also have a PAO, and that happens to be Sergeant Martinez as well. He does everything. This is also completely free. We provide media trainings. So if anybody that Melissa might see might benefit from the media training, Sergeant Martinez would help them communicate efficiently in front of the media and public. And this training would be very important for people who are spokespersons, senior leaders, and people who mostly are in front of the public. Sergeant Martinez, since this is your area, do you want to brush up a little bit on it?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I mean the biggest thing, you touched a large part of that, but for counter drug itself, at least for our section, I have developed a number of infographics. I've sent them out. I started back in June, I believe. I've been doing a poster that highlights one of the 12 sectors that kind of brings out a coalition. And I think I reached out to you, Melissa, for a quote to provide on schools. So they've been helping a lot as far as capacity building, I feel like, and I think that was the biggest goal of it within itself. So just utilizing things like that, just helping provide that information to the public is key, especially if you're trying to build capacity or if you're trying to communicate to the public on subjects that they're either not fully aware of what's happening or they're not aware of the impact that they have within your coalition. So, providing that photography or videography for your coalition to use afterwards for capacity building, or even just to bring out that information of what you guys are capable of doing, I can help provide that, or we all can really. And like I said before, the infographics, they've been helping a lot. It's mostly just for information awareness and just to help provide that importance for people to understand like how they can impact your organizations. And of course, providing that insight on mapping and visual guidance for projects. If there's any questions that you guys have as far as social media engagement goes, or color coordinating, or color theory, anything like that that goes into what makes a good graphic, or what makes something more appealing to the eye, because as we all know, dealing with youth, and well, not really dealing with, working with youth, I should say, it's hard to keep attention for about more than 15 seconds unless they're swiping through, social media or anything like that. So it's just helping provide that information to where it's appealing to the eye, and the information is enough to make somebody stick longer for 15 seconds. And that's going to help bring in more people to the organization and just build that information for you guys so that the community is more aware of what's happening in their communities, because we see it a lot too. Like, you're talking about the marijuana legalization, you're talking about these things happening in your community, and you'll have some people in the community that say, oh, well, I don't see it happening, so it can't be happening that much, right? It's removing that biased opinion and understanding the data that you're looking at and showing the community that you're in, hey, these are the facts. This is the data that we have in your community. So it is happening. It is happening whether you see it or not. And providing that information is the most important part, because if they don't know what's happening, then how are we going to make a change,
Yep. All right. We're gonna skip that. All right, so I'm Specialist Valdivieso. Do you guys have any questions in regards to the briefing I just provided? All right, awesome. So this concludes my brief. Thank you so much.
Thanks. So not as much questions as of like just, you know, it got the gears going in my brain of like, wow, these are some really amazing resources that we need to partner on more and take advantage of more. So I'm excited, and hopefully some of the members here can, you know, help understand, hey, what if we had the counter drug task force do that? Like, you know, things like that. We would really love to implement that opportunity more.
Yeah, just the fact that you guys are experts in that whole visual, the importance of visual presentation, is critical. And it's a highly specialized skill set with a lot of best practices. And we as a small, nonprofit don't really have a dedicated, trained sort of social media visual presentation guru. You can have all the best data in the world, but if you can't present it in a way that is eye-catching and convincing, it loses value. Going back to what Staff Sergeant Martinez was saying, and as a former IT person, it's about the presentation. It's about the presentation, and third, it's about the presentation, right?
Yep.
It's the data is great, but without the presentation, it is just data. Where it has impact is through the presentation. The fact that they have a whole team that's not only skilled in all the technical platforms to create these graphics, but also to make sure that they're optimized, and they could be targeted at what's going to hold the attention of students, what's going to hold the attention of, education administration, what's going to grab the attention of parents, that may have those blinders of blissful ignorance, right? About, oh yeah, we all smoked when we were 12, so it's not a big deal. Or they're smoking concentrated nicotine. It's not like they're picking up a Marlboro Red, right? So there's so many opportunities to get data out there. But I think we do have to partner with you guys when we can to make sure that it's presented in the right way. That's it. Soapbox over.
Yes, of course. We're here. We literally get paid to think and support you guys. So for whatever you guys need, we're here.
Well, thank you so much. Just kind of some of the topics that we're seeing right now. Obviously, one thing that we're very worried about is the vaping, edibles, just the increase of kind of like what I was explaining before, just the increase of availability and that visual component. Like you said, I believe Sergeant Martinez said it, that, like, actually it might have been you, Specialist, where, there might be a bus stop in front of a vape shop. We're seeing more and more like vape shops on the routes to different schools. And I gave a couple of examples just here in downtown Lawrenceville that we're concerned about. So having those, having more data on that and having a way to present it to the public and saying, are you noticing this? Is this a concern? What can you do to talk to your kids? Those kind of things. So I'm excited about the possibility of working with that and utilizing those resources. Some of the things that we're seeing today on a statewide scale that we really wanted to bring to the membership's attention is that there is a current effort called Smoke Free Atlantic City. It involves taking smoking out of the casinos. During COVID, there was a suppression on smoking in casinos just because of the additional health risk that it posed when there was a lung-borne illness epidemic going on. But they did roll that back at the end of the COVID restrictions, but now their lawmakers are considering trying to bring it back because it is the only non-smoke free workplace in New Jersey. So on October 19th, the Senate president said the legislature is still considering bills. They want to end this exemption that allows for smoking indoors, and Governor Murphy is in support of it. It's just getting it to the desk. So this is my little lame duck season little comic there. I just thought it was so cute. But For those of you who don't know what a lame duck season means, it really means it's the time period between election day, which was yesterday, and when the new officers take their positions. So it's kind of like the ending, to use another bird metaphor, it's the swan song of the people who might have been elected out of office or who are retiring. It's their last push to get something done. That's why it's called lame duck, because it doesn't have as much of the teeth as during a regular session, but it's still a time to get some things done and to focus on hopefully some of those easy wins, or the other analogy, low-hanging fruit. So these were some of the session, the things that were brought forth. The S264 and A2151. Apparently it was very, very well received. However, there has not been a bill that has movement since spring of 2023. So they said that there should be a bill brought back in session since yesterday, and they should move to the floor for a full vote. So the hearings did not include a committee vote. This time they're going to need that committee vote. We got this notice from NJPN. NJPN has been advocating for legislation along with healthy tobacco-free New Jersey, for healthy New Jersey. It's been over 17 years in the making. This is an opportunity as a New Jersey citizen, not necessarily part of the coalition, but as a concerned citizen, that you could encourage your representatives to take up these bills and to finish them out, especially during this lame duck session. I wouldn't go as far as saying, well, since you're not doing anything else, but it might be a good opportunity to say, hey, this is an easy win. All of us are concerned about health for all workers, and these have been excluded from these protections for so long. It was actually really great during COVID to have these protections in place. So please proceed with these. These are the people that they suggest that we reach out to. This list will be sent to you with the minutes and the notes from this coalition meeting. But I have that all set up for you here. Any questions about that? I can't see hands raised, so if you just want to unmute yourself, you're welcome to ask questions or say anything. So this is something that was kind of encouraging to see. The CRC is putting up some helpful information here, things that we're concerned about. Of course, I got a 404 error. I just copied it. Okay, there we go. Can someone see this? Can someone unmute and tell me if you can see this article, The Effects of Cannabis on Children and Young Adults?
Yeah, we see it.
Okay, great. So so this is the CRC. The CRC, for those of you who are into the mumbo jumbo of letters and those abbreviations, it's the Cannabis Regulatory Commission. That is a commission set up through the state to regulate the legalization through the CREM Act. This is called High Points, is the name of their blog, and there's a lot of tongue-in-cheek that I think about when I think about the CRC, but I really did appreciate this article. Of course, they start at the same areas that we always start with brain development, talking about the long-term impacts. Sometimes I'm very surprised at how honest they are. They're saying individuals who start using cannabis regularly at a young age and continue into their late 30s may experience long-term brain damage and a decline in IQ up to 8 points. One of the presentations I've done recently is said that since the average human has an IQ of just a little bit over 100, you know, anything above 5 IQ points, that's more than a 20th of your brain capacity or your intelligence quotient. So some people don't have 8 points to lose. So that's one of the emphasizing points that we often make when we're talking to young adults. It emphasizes the impaired learning and academic performance. This is something that we talk about all the time: memory, recall, connection, communication breakdown. It's literally, this is a substance that can block those in developing brains. The mental health risks, this is something that has been studied in great detail, as much as something can be studied with the regulations on cannabis federally. Obviously, one of the ones that comes to mind is the links to schizophrenia. I'm not saying reefer madness. I'm not saying, you know, one puff and somebody's gonna take out something, but this is a very real possibility, especially if you have genetic links in your brain already to mental health disorders. It can increase those and exacerbate those. And then, of course, one of our big concerns is increased substance use and the pathway to addiction. So there's a scientist that I work, that I follow a lot of his work. His name is Levy, and he works with Nora Volkoff, who is one of the preeminent scholars at the National Institute for Drug Abuse. And one thing that he says is that if you have consistent use under the age of 18, you are 25% more likely to develop an addiction disorder. If you withhold that use of an illicit substance until after the age of 21, that actually drops to 4%. That is huge. That's a 21% drop. And so one thing that we share with our students is when we say that brain development doesn't fully develop until after the age of 25, can you just imagine how much healthier and how much more protected against addiction and other side effects you would be if you delayed use until even after 25. And of course, we get eye rolls and snickers and things like that. But we're just trying to get young adults to recognize, you know, just a little bit of delayed use can give their bodies and brains time to develop without those. And then, of course, cannabis use disorder, it is defined by the DSM-5. However, finding organizations and treatment options are very limited, unfortunately. One thing that it mentioned is hyperemesis syndrome. We have seen an uptick of this in our emergency rooms. It is digestive issues, vomiting, stomach cramps, diarrhea, all that kinds of fun stuff from the high THC levels that are found in cannabis right now. So I want to get out of that and go back to this. All right, so I just wanted to draw your attention to that there is some valuable information. Here's another thing that I found on the CRC's website: the difference between Delta 9 THC, which is the cannabis that we see at our dispensaries here, versus Delta 8 THC. One is regulated, one is not. Now, there are some laws or some bills that have been proposed to bring Delta 8 products under the dispensaries, which would actually make it much safer. It would also allow for more enforcement for law enforcement, because right now these Delta 8 products are sold to anyone, to minors, in tobacco shops, in gas stations, bodegas. We've seen it everywhere, and there's very little ability to enforce it. But if Delta 8 is absorbed into the dispensaries, there would be more opportunities to actually enforce the sale to only people of the age of 21 and older. Another thing that they had on there was a 420 playlist, in case anybody needs that. So as I said, sometimes I have a tongue-in-cheek relationship with the CRC. One thing that I wanted to bring to everyone's attention is that we have our holiday breakfast. Of course, that's going to be live. This was a virtual meeting, but that's going to be live. That's December 13th. That is from 8:30 a.m. We will begin our meeting at 9:15 a.m. since that is a more social and more laid back kind of meeting, we will not have a virtual option. This is a great opportunity to come and meet the membership, to talk about the work that you're doing and collaborate. I think it's definitely one of my favorites. We highlight some of the things that we've accomplished throughout the year, some of the things that the membership have been talking about, or directions that we want to go for the new year. As I said, it is a less formal meeting. So, you know, there's food and coffee and time to talk and to mingle. We will have formal invitations going through email, but in the meantime, you're welcome to send me any questions or concerns or suggestions for who should get an invitation. One exciting thing is that 2 of our coalition members stepped forward to sponsor our breakfast, which is always nice to have a little extra opportunity there. And that is Penn Medicine, Princeton House Behavioral Health. Thank you, Nancy Zaroshin, and Hampton Behavioral Health Center, which is Kruti Shaw. And we definitely appreciate that sponsorship here. One thing this is just something that we're going to keep emphasizing, is that we want to do more planning. We want to do more policy and more ordinances, a more permanent level, so that we can address upstream incidents, so that we can do more of the core of prevention. So we regulate physical availability. We, you know, change those barriers of access, like the National Guard was talking about, so that we're not doing education and persuasion and recovery strategies downstream. And this one happens to be related to alcohol, but this is a great model for all substances. The fact that it is alcohol is relevant. Alcohol is still one of the most pervasive substances used incorrectly by young adults. It is still something that causes death and injury, accidents, crashes, and is still an issue in our society. A lot of times as new drugs emerge and new concerns emerge, obviously the opioid epidemic that we are still fighting, and new drugs are getting added every day to that. With the changes in our legalization, that's a big concern, and access. But alcohol is still one of those underlying foundational substances that people abuse and still has some harmful impacts in our community. And then we are still doing the tobacco merchant education. We have so many more to go. If anybody wants to help with that, we'd be happy to get some help. We have some of the strictest flavored tobacco laws in the country, and they are not being enforced. So we're just trying to get to make sure that the retailers are aware of those laws, that they are not selling underage, that they're not selling products that they're not supposed to be selling, and really trying to help them make sure that they stay compliant to state and federal laws. We have an audit tool. That's what this QR code is. It's pretty much a simple a form. You use it before you go into a tobacco retailer. It asks you, do you see this? Do you see that? What does this look like? Do they have signage up? Do they seem to understand the laws? Those kind of things, just to kind of get a better sense of what kind of tobacco retailers we have, what kind of responsibilities they are taking for their products. The Youth Coalition is still meeting. Right now they're doing a project down in Trenton. I can't remember the name of the organization they're working with, but they're making videos on certain substances. If you know anyone from 7th grade on up through sophomore year of college who wants to get involved, or even if they need volunteer hours, definitely contact Ruth Del Pino. At this email address, she would be happy to have people come and be part of those efforts. As I mentioned, lead us to the money. If there are any funding opportunities, grants that, you know, maybe your organization says, you know, we're really good on this part, but we don't do a lot of prevention, or we don't do a lot of avenues to treatment, but it would look really good for our application, please talk to us. We'd be happy to partner with you. If you have any grant writing classes, if you have a grant writer who's looking for extra work, or if you're just willing to offer technical assistance about grant funding opportunities, we would be happy to talk to you. As a nonprofit, as Dave mentioned, we love free. We love any hints to expand our services and to get our word out there more and more. So some upcoming events. I know Heather DiLorenzo down at the Mercer County Office of Addiction, they're doing a Narcan training through Rutgers. They will mail the kit afterwards. Here is the calendar link to that. Hampton is hosting an open house from 3:30 to 5:30 on November 14th. And then we wanted to give an opportunity to anyone here, if there's an upcoming event, we'd be happy to add this. So the time is yours to talk about anything that you're doing right now, any upcoming events, any things you want to bring, anything you want to bring forward. This is that time. We can go from there. Okay, somebody asked for Ruth's email again. I'm going to put it right here in the chat.
Thank you.
She is very, very engaging, hardworking with the youth, and she has a lot of creative ideas. I know one thing that she's working on specifically is those who have been not disenfranchised, but those that have been more marginalized communities. So right now there's a big effort to work on LGBTQ community because they are impacted at a higher percentage for substance use and other risk factors. So that is definitely an area that they're looking into. But we're also looking at, kind of like what Dave said, those younger ages that are so vulnerable. How can we help prevention even younger? And one of the big ways is peer-led education. Because I often joke, I said, I can get up there as an old lady, as a mom, you know, who has teenagers and who cares. And I can say, you know, please don't do this. You know, we're worried about your brain. We're worried about your bodies. But it doesn't have as much as impact as one of their friends saying, you know, I've learned a lot about these and they're scary. And I've seen what they've done to my uncle and my grandpa. And I just, you know, I really don't think these substances are good for us at our age. And I'd rather be a kid than to be someone who has an addiction, or, you know, something like that. But using that language, using like Sergeant Martinez and Specialist Valadebasio were saying, just what language, what visuals are we giving? And it does make a difference with youth talking to youth. So all right, so the time is now yours. Anything, Al, do you have anything coming up that you would like to let the membership know about? Oh wait, you're muted, Al. I'm trying to unmute you from my end, Al. It's not working. I'm sorry. Okay, so I know that he's you're a part of other commissions within the state. I know you do a lot of work with veterans as well. So thank you for the work you do. And let's see. Sarah, do you have anything for us?
Nope. I don't have
Putting
any.
people on the spot here.
No.
Okay. You have that Narcan training coming up, right?
Yeah, that's Heather's.
Okay.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Okay. All right. So without further ado, then we will give your time back to you. We definitely want to thank our New Jersey Counter Drug Task Force for all the work that they do. And I'm excited about the new tools and options that you presented that we can help utilize as a membership and help make our area stronger and healthier for our community. So thank you all for being here. And I'm going to
back.
stop recording here.